All right, guys, welcome back. Another episode of College Coaches Corner here at LGR. We're back in Region 23, back in Mississippi, with another junior college coach. We're going to get an assistant coach's perspective this time. We got Coach Pittman from Jones Junior College. Coach, how are you doing during all this virus madness?
Coach, thank you for having me. Just trying to maintain a routine and talk as much basketball as possible, wrap up some recruiting, sneaking in a little fishing here and there.
I love it. That's a great time for sure. A little nature and everything. I'm blessed with this beautiful weather we got here. It's been in the 70s, 60s, so it's been amazing. So you're back for your second stint at Jones. You guys have, ever since kind of Missy kind of took over the program, she's really built it into, I guess, the powerhouse, the juggernaut, you can say, of Region 23. What makes Jones Junior College so special?
Yeah, Chris, and she's done a fantastic job. But I think, number one, it just starts with Jones itself, the actual institution. And we collectively, our student body is made up of high-achieving individuals, our faculty, staff, from the leadership, from the top down. And it's a beautiful campus. And then, obviously, with women's basketball, we've been able to get the support that we needed to do things, and they've just allowed Missy to make her own path. And so it's a combination of a lot of things. And obviously there is some talent inside of Mississippi, but I think just building those relationships beyond. And I know Brent talked about the 3 out of state the other day from Southwest, and he's our region director. And so, I just think going outside of the boundaries of our state lines and spending time with quality people. And that's kind of what's helped Missy be successful.
For sure. So you've, of course, played at Southern Miss. You played at the Division I level. And now you coach at the Division I level. You've played at the Division I level. And now you've coached at the junior college level. Why should kids consider NJCAA junior college? Why should they think maybe that's an option? In Louisiana, we got the majority of our schools are Division I, so we kind of get to the mindset of we're just D1 and plus, where we only have a select few junior colleges. We have 0 D2s and we have 2 D3s. We have a few NAIAs, so I think people kind of think that's okay, but it's just whatever the norm is what we go with. Why is junior college okay?
Yeah, Chris, and I think that anytime you're awarded a scholarship opportunity, you need to take a hard look at it, regardless of if it's 4-year, 2-year, whatever. And then I think that there's some people, they may only have one opportunity, and that's fine. If it's a 4-year, 2-year, that's great. But if you're fortunate enough to have a diverse skill set and you can find yourself playing in different systems, I think that then you're fortunate. You need to look at, okay, I have these 5 things that I have on my checklist. Which school fits most of those 5 things? Very rarely do you find a school that's going to fit all 5. But if you can find somewhere that, okay, yeah, they fit all 3, then you need to go. Where we come in junior colleges is obviously we have young ladies that may not qualify, but then we have some young ladies that they just haven't found that right fit at the 4-year level. And we say, hey, with your skill set, come, continue to grow, continue to learn, not necessarily rebrand yourself, but continue to grow your brand. And then you may have an opportunity to go to a school that can check another box off for you.
That's awesome. I don't think we kind of really think so far. We're always thinking like what's next instead of thinking, 4 years down the road. And, whenever you're doing the research and you guys have, I've just seen most recently, you had several girls sign going on to the next level. That's definitely something that you got to kind of do your homework on whenever you're looking for those different opportunities and try to check those boxes. As far as the recruiting process, again, so you've gone through it as a player and played at Southern Miss, coached there. You were the recruiting coordinator there as well. Coach Joe Lee does a great job. You guys are kind of known for recruiting very wide, having a great knowledge of all kinds of kids, and trying to narrow that down to where you're only signing 4 or 5, where you may start with several hundred. How do you go about that process?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Coach McNellis she wants to know the entire landscape as much as possible. And so, as the recruiting coordinator, I was fortunate enough to learn uh, just what types of players are going to fit what we need, and say, okay, I have the knowledge. It would be so. If I'm looking at a player, okay, well, I know they can't do this. And so it would be removing them from it. And so you just want to remove all of that doubt about players that aren't going to fit what she would like to do. And so that's just, for me, it was a thing of, okay, I want to know if they can feel X, Y, and Z. She likes to press. So I wanted to know they've got to obviously have some speed and athleticism. And do they love the game of basketball? Just trying to hone in on, and while they may be a great player, they just weren't going to fit what we were going to do.
That's a great point. You and I talked a little off the record before about the evaluation process and everything. From where I'm at with LGR and trying to evaluate kids, and we put out our 2023 rankings, and it was trying to educate the girls, the families, the state in general about I guess the benefits, of course, but recruiting, evaluating, all that stuff, it's like taste buds, the way that I try to explain it to people. Like, some people like sushi, some people hate sushi, you know what I'm saying? And that's where it comes down to kind of like what you're saying. Like, you're going to have to fit the program, or at least have some attributes that kind of go in that direction. And then it gets a little more complicated and more in depth to where you're comparing and contrasting. Can you explain a little bit more on that? Like, I guess from both sides of the fence, when you're just evaluating a kid in general, it's been a little different, I guess. I've enjoyed it a lot myself, coming from evaluating a kid like you just said, from the program that I'm trying to see if she's going to fit my program. Like, we call it, is she a doobie player? Like, we need doobie players, like you just talked about. Now I'm just to where it's clean slate, and you're trying to see what level they go to, what they do well, what they don't, not necessarily the fit.
Yeah, Chris, I think there is a little blend. There's a blend between both recruiting for a program and then what you do, just from the clean slate perspective. Number one, I want to see at the age of 2023, do they love the game? Do they play like they love the game? That's what's going to catch my eye immediately. And then from there, I think you're going off of projections, and it's the same as if you're recruiting for a 4-year or a 2-year program. You're going off of, well, where do I see their natural ability taking them? And so I think that those two things intersect. And then from there, we're just looking at how are they excelling in their role on their current roster? Can we see them fulfilling that same thing at a 4-year program? And then also for you, what you do, I just thought of this, is, and what I would do sitting on the sidelines at an event evaluating, I'm comparing their skill set to their entire age. So where your top 5 in the 2023 class may not compete with the 2022s, or the 2022s may not compete with the 2023s, you're evaluating from that pool of that age population. And so some of that is based on, okay, they may be going and getting buckets right now versus kids their age. And then you're looking at how do they compete against older competition too. So I just think it's layered. It's very layered. And having a cumulative ranking, there's not going to be a college coach that says, oh, I want number 10 over number 11. Like, that's not going to happen. What you will see happen, though, is sometimes players that end up on that list, when they're competing against a crosstown rival, I think you just foster that competition there between the players and then also the coaches. So I think it's a great thing.
For sure. And kind of to that, I talk with a lot of evaluators and different things. Gotten a lot of advice from Shane over in Texas and everything. And he always talks about matchups, And can you talk a little bit about how important a matchup is? If you're, I forget who it was that did the interview. It might have been Chris Godfrey. He was like, if you're jumping in my email or in my inbox and telling me you're the district MVP of 3-5 and you're dropping 20 points, so that's not really going to gather my attention. It's more about who you do it against, the scene, the situation of playing big time competition, not being afraid of that, and big time moments. And also on the flip side of that, you guys do a great job of getting out in the high school, but it's still difficult. We got 400 and something high schools in Louisiana alone. And you guys are from Mississippi. So how important is it to be at the right events in high school, and on the flip side of that, be at the right events in AAU? Because let's call it what it is. I mean, AAU or showcase ball, whatever you want to call this, the single most important place to play, because you guys are not playing. You're just watching. Whereas in the high school season, you're playing and you're trying to watch. It's hard to juggle.
Chris, that's spot on. Being at a 2-year institution, we're fortunate enough to recruit kids and also have our players get recruited. That's why scheduling has been important to us for our athletes that are trying to find a home. And, they don't want to see us. They don't want to see an individual player drop 30 on whoever. They want to see somebody battle, and that's no different than an evaluator. So yes, selecting events in July and in the spring when things get back to normal, that's very important. And obviously you want to build some games where you can build your confidence, but I want to see a player compete against some size if they're an interior player. I want to see them go against some quickness if they're a perimeter player. And I won't use the young lady's name because she's on a current 4-year roster. But when we evaluated her, she may have had 6 points in like 3 games. But what she was able to do is she was able to defend 2 Power 5 bigs at that position. And so, I think you just have to look at those kind of things. She was able, you may not can score all the time, but are you able to defend your position too? Who are you shutting down?
Yep, no doubt. And kind of to that, whenever, quote unquote, you're sitting on the sidelines watching these games, like the game you just talked about, right? So she shut down 2 people. Me personally, I didn't really remember who won the game or how many trophies you came home with or whatnot. It's not about that. It's about playing at the highest level you can compete at. Like, there's different divisions, right? There's the first bracket, second bracket, third bracket on down the line. And if you're playing in the 4th bracket and winning, that's not going to translate to playing in the first bracket where you're playing against the high major kids that you're talking about. She scored 6 points, but she locked down 2 other high major kids. That's more impressive than her being at the 3rd and the 4th level bracket and scoring 20 points and 20 rebounds whenever there was just one college coach there. Can you add a little bit about that?
Yeah, and every tournament is different. And I understand that as a club coach, see, my grassroots level, that's where I first got my start, was in club coaching. And so I loved it. Matter of fact, if they would have never changed the legislation in Mississippi where you couldn't teach and be a club coach, I'd probably still be a club coach. And so, even though it has grown so much since that was 8 years ago, I just think that it's important where it goes back to scheduling. You want to help all of your kids find opportunities. And so you may have a team that has teammates that are on different levels. So that's fine. But try to go out. If you're playing 5 tournaments, go play in 2 big tournaments and try to play in the top bracket that you can. I just feel like that is important. And obviously, it's going to increase exposure to just for the sideline to be full. And so I can't say that enough. And I know there is ambiguous thoughts on club basketball, but I think going out and competing, call the tournament director, say, hey, I want to go against, I know I have this 4 player that these coaches are wanting to make a decision on, go against the team that's got another solid 4 player. Like, call it, seek it out. I just feel like that is one way. That's what I want to do. I want to go see who's going to be the best shooting guard. I want to know.
Awesome. Last question on that. And so the importance, I guess, I wrote an article about my opinion, the top 5 things that you need to do to help your recruiting and everything. And I feel like playing showcase basketball, like you said, is far like the top of the list, I guess. Can you talk about that, I guess, from your experience as junior college and recruiting coordinator at a mid-major? Like, how are we percentage-wise? Like, a lot is geared towards AAU and finding the kids, right? And then on the back end of that, you're going to do your homework during the high school seasons, and you're going to follow up with them and see how they lead their individual teams and stuff like that. But when you're first evaluating a kid, you're trying to get a look on a kid, I would say probably 75, 80% of the time is coming from a showcase setting. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, there's no doubt, because and you've discussed this, I think, in your article. It's been about a year since I've read it, but you're only allotted 112 calendar days to go out and recruit, right, and to evaluate. So even from a 2-year standpoint, I want to get out at what the different tournaments that are in New Orleans, within Birmingham, something that's within driving distance, so I can go ahead and kind of have a knowledge of that pool. Because what's going to happen is there's very few people now that are just going to end up on a high school roster that ever played club basketball. Like, that's very few and far between. So you're going to, whether some people like it or not, 4-year coaches, 2-year coaches are creating their cumulative list from those events. And you may say, oh, I'm just a name on a list. Well, I just feel like if when you were still in coaching, like I told you about that fit, about that program, well, I know that they may not fit the program that I need, but if I know where you're headed and I've had conversations with you, I may throw out that name to you. And so I think that that's something that parents may not understand, or even club coaches may not fully realize the intricacies of that, because people that know basketball and don't mind sharing, that are good in this game, they're going to share. And if they're about helping give opportunities to these young ladies. And so, yeah, I would say you spot on. 75 to 80% that is done through club basketball.
No doubt. And like you said, at the end of the day, you're sitting on the sidelines and you're talking to people. Coaches, college coaches talk for sure. Next question, the recruiting process. So I kind of wanted to touch with you on this. Again, being recruited, playing Division I yourself, and coaching Division I, as well as junior college. When does the process start? Again, I feel like at Southern Miss, you guys have done a great job. As she probably starts really, really early and does a great job, better than most, I would say. And how does that compared to the junior college level? When do you normally start the recruiting process?
Yes. So as a player, I can tell you, in 2006, things have quickly expedited. You used to go to camps and these showcases, and it was if you committed before your senior year, you were a baller, and usually it was like November, people were making decisions of their senior year. So things have changed quite a bit, but I think for the 4-year process, like around that 9th, 10th grade year, I mean, if you're beginning to if this is something that you want to do, I think that players have to take their game seriously and begin to trust people that are going to help put them in the right position, be in the gym working on their skills around that age. For us specifically at Jones, we're wrapping up our 2020 class, and then we are segueing in this spring and summer. I've built a 2021 list, and I'm just going to continue to grow it. If schools were in session over the summer, or practices were in session, we would stop by a few gyms this summer, leading into that senior year. That's kind of what we would do, and begin conversations with those local kids. But yeah, I would say that 9th, 10th grade year, if this is something you're serious about, you better start working on your game.
Awesome. and let's say we are serious about it. Like, what's the steps to getting in contact, getting in front? We talked, of course, about showcase. So showcase is probably the single most important thing. What's some other things? You know, with this time being as crazy as it is, I feel like kids are taking the initiative themselves. They're emailing college coaches with the highlights films, the game films. A lot of people talked about camps, like elite camps, prospect camps, and how important that is. Can you kind of touch about those other things of, all right, I'm playing showcase ball. I'm ninth, 10th grade year. I'm really serious about this. What's the next step?
Yep. So I think from my own experience, I was fortunate enough in high school that I played with, I had 4 different teammates that were going to compete at Division One. And so that helped open up opportunities for me. So if you find yourself on a roster, and I know with your current high school team, and then there's other teams in the area that have multiple prospects, consider it a blessing. I know sometimes people may want to go be the man, but you're going to get seen and you're going to get evaluated time and time again. And so if you have an opportunity to select a team that not is necessarily loaded with your club team or a high school team, relish in your role. Then I would say the next step is to ask your coach to take your high school team to those particular team camps. Coaches watch team camps at the majority of mid-major, low-major schools. They're going to give you another opportunity to be evaluated. And from there, I think as you're going into your junior year, people may say that elite camps are a ripoff. Some of them may be. But if you are seriously being recruited by this institution, go to that elite camp. I get people project, and coaches, we're human. If that prospect comes to your campus and they spend quality time with you and they seem interested, that's going to make that coach's interest level go even higher, and they're going to want to come after you. And so I think not that you got to spend $1 trillion, but narrow in 3 to 4 schools that you're seriously interested in before your junior year and get to their campus. Then I would encourage you. This is where I think the missing piece is, Coach. Go to games, watch games. Watch the games of the schools that are recruiting you, watch the games of the schools that you would like to go to, and watch and see if you are able to give an honest evaluation of yourself and see if you fit. And I think that if you don't know, take your high school coach with you, take somebody with you that can give you another set of eyes, because as a college coach, we're not obligated to tell you the bad. We're only obligated to sell you the good. So you've got to take some ownership in your recruitment process. I think just watching the game more.
I love that. And I'll even add to that, you know, like we always talk about as college coaches trying to get a live evaluation, right? So it's one thing to watch whoever on TV or watch a link or whatever. It's a little different to go and watch in person, get on their campus, have face-to-face conversations with them, see how they interact with their team, see how they interact in the locker room and all that stuff. That's big time information, big time nuggets there. I appreciate you sharing that. Next thing, moving to, you know, your personal experience. I feel like you're someone that a lot of the girls can kind of look up to. You've lived in there, you've walked in their shoes, you've gotten recruited, you've played Division One, which a lot of the girls aspire to do, and then now you're flipped and transitioned that into coaching. How and what advice can you give them for handling the whole recruiting process? How did the Division One level prepare you for life? How did it prepare you for coaching? Any people that influenced you along the way? Can you just kind of take that and run with it?
Yeah, for sure. That's it. You know, I think it opens up a door of opportunities. Just being on a team sport is incredible, and I'm fortunate enough to still be able to do what I love. You know, some days I get it right with players. Some days you get it wrong. I think there's no perfect formula. I love to love people, and where I've relied on my experience, probably, Chris, is more I wanted to help players become different than I was as a player. My mindset as a player, sometimes I would get way too too hard on myself. I was way too critical. My game was very limited. And so as a coach, I wanted to help come in and help show them not so much what I did, but things that I didn't do and say, hey, I figured this out. This would have probably helped me grow as a player. And then, of course, just say, I don't typically like to reference, oh, when I was a player, I did this, but just having that knowledge as a coach in my mind, okay, they're on wind sprint number 7. They are dead tired. They may need some encouragement right here. And so I think just it's fun relying on my playing experience and transitioning into a coach. I love being a coach way more than I was as a player. But yeah, I think Division I basketball, junior college basketball, NAIA, if you can get plugged into a program, the things that you will learn from a time management standpoint. And I didn't have it right as a player. It was things I learned later in life. And I was like, oh, that's what they meant, you know? And so, and just learning how to connect with people. And this is what life is about. And we're in a time right now, I'm not going to get all philosophical, but I think that if you're fortunate enough to be around a group of people and share that same goal, go embrace that. Doesn't matter what level, go do it. Because right now we're all wishing we could go out to eat with a friend, go to a movie, catch up with birthday parties, whatever. And so those are things that as a college athlete, you're going to get to do every single day.
That's cool. That's cool. That's cool for sure. Well, I appreciate you. Is there anything else you want to kind of share, I guess, directly with a high school student athlete or any basketball players, just kind of as they navigate this whole process, you know? I mean, at the end of the day, these girls are teenagers and they're trying to make big time decisions and things that are going to affect and impact them for the rest of their lives, you know, whereas you go to college and go there for 4 years for free, get a college degree, and then you're set up and you're yourself as a better situation as well as your family moving forward. Is there anything you can kind of you'd like to share with them directly on that?
Sure, Chris. Yeah, I do feel like right now if you're sitting in decision mode, ready to make a decision, just be true to who you are and enjoy it. Know that yes, this is a big decision and it can very much impact your life. But let's say you make the wrong one, it's not going to be the end of the world. There are going to be good things that come out of it, and you're going to get an education. You're going to learn something. And so I would just encourage every player and parent to be encouraged that most of us coaches, we're out here we want to help you. We want to help young people grow. And so, you know, find those positive things in any type of program that you're looking for, and just take a deep breath and take it all as it comes. I would say the biggest thing is find 2 or 3 two. There's not 3. You know, earlier I said it was 5. Just find 2 things. Sit down, really find 2 things that you know I cannot live without. And whatever, if you can find a program that take care of those 2, because there are going to be hard days in wherever you play college basketball, but you're going to be able to look at those 2 things and say, hey, you know what? These 2 things are taken care of here. So I'm going to be able to get through this hard stuff. That's
awesome. Coach, I appreciate you spending some time with us. Is there anywhere if the girls want to reach out to you via social media, anywhere they can follow you, your program?
Yes, please. You can find me. It's Coach Pitt, Pitt 32. And from there, the link to our women's basketball page is in my header. And so you can follow along. We have some area players and see where they're headed and see about our newcomers. Cool.
Again, Coach, I appreciate you spending time with us. It's been great knowledge. You know, I feel like you're one of the up-and-coming coaches for sure. You're definitely a grinder. You're inspiration to a lot of these other young coaches. Just whenever you're grinding, I feel like you're in the gym all the time, and you always be bopping around and communicating and talking. I don't think you've ever met a stranger. So it's been good to see and watch you. Looking forward to watching you grow over the years and continue to make your presence in the women's game.
Chris, thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it. And so you keep doing what you do. If I can help you across the river, you just let me know.
Sounds good, Coach. I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And until next time, we'll bring you guys some more college coaches. Thanks.